Hey, what's up? I'm Mark Terpolini, and in this video I'm going to be painting my entire house. So there's a kind of a number of steps you need to take before you start painting, and so that's what I'm doing now. And basically what I'm doing is I am masking off everything that I don't want to get paint on. This is actually a two-step process for this house because I have stone and then I have like wood. And so what I'm actually going to do is do a concrete stain for the stone and then just a regular paint for all the wood surfaces. So I'm going to try and kind of separate the two as best I can. But before I get to that, like I said, I'm just basically covering everything. I'm also taking a caulking gun. I'm going around and finding any like cracks. So I've filled in already in here a lot, in here and other parts of the house, just so it has like a nice seamless look. It doesn't have kind of like cracks and gaps everywhere. Just kind of filling everything in around the house, so it looks nice. And if I come across anything, I just fill it in real quick. But this is pretty much done. And what I do with this, I'm basically out at this point. Basically, you cut off the tip of this guy. When you do that, you want to make sure that you stick like some kind of a wire in there because there's a seal. And so once you cut off the tip, stick like a wire hanger or something. If you don't have one of these, to crease this, to penetrate the seal in there. And then load it in the gun. There's a release right here. So this goes in like that. And that point's ready to go. But basically all you have to do, it's also helpful to have a wet rag. And so what you can do is just kind of go along, squeeze the trigger, you get a nice bead. And once you do that, you just go over it with your finger, and you get a nice clean look from that. What you can also do is you can take your rag and go over it afterwards, and it kind of cleans it up even more. So it looks, nice and sharp like that. So go around the house and do as much caulking as you can around windows, around doors, all the trim, any cracks and stuff on windows and siding and things like that. Go ahead and fill it in with caulking. And what I have here is a just window, door, siding, and trim. And this is a, let's see, I believe this is, yeah, elastomeric. And it kind of has like a rubbery kind of finish to it when it's done, so it's very flexible. So when things move, it's not going to crack right away. It'll kind of flex with the movement of the house. So that's why I use this. This one has a 2-hour drying time. You can get others that are like 30 minutes. So depending on how quickly you need to get things started, make sure to keep that in mind. So this is a 2-hour drying time, so I'm actually going to start on a different part of the house to get that time to dry. But make sure to do caulking. Like I said, make sure to mask all the windows off. Anything you don't want to get paint on, make sure to cover it really well. And then another thing you can do, I'll move the camera here a little bit. Another thing that's good to do is to remove all the lights. You can do a couple different things. You can just cover it with masking, or you can just take off the light. I think a more professional look is to take the light off. So these are usually pretty easy, just a couple screws here, and that pops right off. You want to make sure that the power is off so you're not getting electrocuted, obviously. Whatever you need to do, turn off the switch, kill the breaker. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick before I take this light off. So I went ahead and killed power to the switch on this light, and a good idea is to get one of these little testers. There's a lot of different kinds of them. This one's probably not the best, but it works. So just basically push the button, put it in there, see if there's power. And when there is power, it'll make like a beeping sound, like a fast beeping sound. And there's nothing right now. So I am good to go. Pull this off real quick. And then take the caps that you pulled off, put them back on just to be safe and make sure you don't lose them. And then basically at that point, I'll grab some paper and tape and throw it over there. So in an ideal world, you'll have one masker with plastic and another masker with paper and tape. I've only got the one right now and I've got a lot of plastic to do. So I'm just going to tear off some of this paper real quick. Just like that. Basically what I'm going to do is just kind of cover this up. There's no real science to this, you just kind of do your best, just so you don't get paint all over everything. And you can get a little bit of overspray on this bracket. That's not a big deal because you're not going to see it anyways once the light is on there. So just something like this will work just fine. That's good enough, not too worried about it. Now, I'm gonna get a little bit closer. When you get to things like this, see the electrical going down and up. There's a couple different ways you can go about it. You can tape the whole thing. You can tape it all and protect it all, so it has like this gray color over everything. You can mask off certain parts of it if you want to. So it's really up to you. With things that are like clear plastic like this, I would probably tend to want to keep them clear plastic and not paint it. But I'm not too worried about painting like this cabling. But like I said, I'm going to be staining the brick or the stone and painting this. It'd be better if this paint on here. You know what? I think I'll actually keep it gray now that I'm thinking about it. Since I'm doing the staining, I can't just spray it because I'm not going to stain this. It's not going to work very well. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just leave it gray, and then I'll come in here with like a brush and kind of go around it. I'll just kind of stay away from this when I'm spraying the stain, and just come back and then touch it up with a brush, and just do it that way. I think that'll be probably the best way to go. So I'll just leave that as is. But for like these large windows, so like a window like this is where you're going to need your plastic. And all we're going to do is simply cover the things that you don't want paint on. And so go up here. And when you're doing this, don't take it all the way to the edge, because then you have the plastic all the way up to the edge and you have no place to stick the tape to. So go to the edge and come back a little bit, maybe like right there, and make sure to cover it really well. Take your time. And if you're doing the trim later, you don't really have to worry about masking off perfectly. You just want to make sure you don't get paint on the windows themselves. So you get the plastic up there, and with the plastic, what you can do, what's great, instead of like doing paper all the way down, which would take a while, you just use plastic, and it kind of folds out like that. Makes it super handy. Okay. And again, just cover all the metal or the parts of the window here. And what I'm doing is I'm covering the metal first to make sure I'm getting that perfect. And then I can always go back with the plastic and basically attach it afterwards. Just slide it under there and then press the tape against it. And that is set. Okay. And do this other side over here. And one thing I want to mention, see there's a section down here still. I don't want to use like a whole thing of plastic because that's way too much material. So what I do in these situations is I'll stop here with the plastic. I'll go do other windows, and then I'll come back with a strip of paper, throw the paper on the masking machine, and just throw some paper on there to finish it off. That way you're not wasting material. That's the best way to do that. Grab a new roll. So you're going to want to do this, go around and do this on every window of the house. Because honestly, like prep work is probably the most important with painting. You want to make sure that you have all the caulking really nice. You want to make sure that you have everything masked off so you don't get overspray on things you don't want overspray on. So that way when everything's ready to go and you have the paint set up, you're just painting. You don't have to stop. You go all the way through, and it actually goes pretty quick. Painting doesn't take that long once everything is prepped and ready to go. Like I still need to cover the ground in here. I'm going to be spraying in here, and I don't want to get on the concrete down here, so I need to cover the ground. So there's just a lot of prep work to do. But once everything is covered and done, going along with the spray gun is really fast. So it just takes a while to get there. So again, I'm going to just stick the plastic on here. That. So like I said, I'll come back later and finish off this window and the ground. It's also good to have a putty knife around, or this is called a 5-in-1. And why this is so important is because it's extremely handy. So instead of like having to take two hands and tear this, you can simply take this to where you want to break it, set it where you want, and then just tear the tape right off right there, just like that. And you get a nice clean tear that way too. So those are super handy as a painter. So go ahead and stick more plastic on there. I'll come back to that section later. Also come back later and show you how I'll mask the ground to get that done. It's going to be a combination of tarps, like a canvas kind of material tarp, and then also paper as well. But I'll show you that a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and finish off the windows right now. Take off a couple more lights. I have like another light here. I have one or two lights out front. So it's basically just prep work. Also, if you have water spigots, sorry to move the camera around on you. But if you have like a water spigot over there, throw some paper and tape around that, just things like that. And also this one's gonna be a little tricky here. So I have like this bar system here. Eventually it's gonna go, I don't want it here, but it's gonna have to stay for now. And so this is gonna be a whole other project I might do later. But basically what I'm gonna have to do is go in here and cover underneath the bars. I'll just take the plastic and go under and cover everything as best I can, and then spray it out. So I spray all the bars at the same time. But I'll remove them all later. But you know, if you're running into a situation like that, just try and work around it. You can see in the past, the previous painters tried to. There's a bunch of overspray and stuff in here. So they did their best to cover it, but it's still pretty messy. But like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and finish kind of masking things off, and then we'll move on to actually painting. So I'll be back. All right, so all the masking is done. I would say it's about 85–90% there. There's a few things, like I need to finish this off, but I kept it open because I need to go in and out of the house for a few things at times. But everything else is pretty much masked, and I'm gonna go ahead and walk around the house to kind of show you everything done. But there's some things I still need to do. I still need to cover the ground in here because I need to paint this ceiling. I don't know if I'll get to it today or not. I'm gonna try, but basically I'll cover the ground at that point. So that's not quite done. But all the windows here are done. The spigots, those are covered. Here's another window, all covered. There's some test patches that I did there. I covered the, this is not gas, this is electric meter here. Another little box I covered there. But I'm gonna paint all the rest of this stuff. And this is probably gonna get removed at some point. But I got the window here, all these windows. And also there's spigot. It's all done. Window there. Window there. I also got the bottom of the beams. So I'm gonna get the tarps and put them down over top of the paper. And actually it's a good idea when you're putting tarps down, Some people will just kind of like put it over the paper. But when you're spraying, there's a lot of kind of like blowback kind of air, and it'll kind of like lift the tarp up and get paint underneath over in this area. So what you want to do, if possible, and I'll show this later, is basically like slide the tarp underneath the paper and then tape the paper to the tarp, so that way like there's nowhere for the paint to go other than on the paper or on the tarp. So all that, I got the door covered there. Also, this is the electrical. So I pulled off all the lights around the house and just kind of like put some paper around it. Also electrical boxes and another window there. I still need to cover that guy. I'm going to kind of, I need to tape off here a little bit to kind of protect that, but I'm gonna kind of stay away from the garage doors at the moment. But that's, yeah, another light there that I covered. There's one more thing I need to cover here, and that is the gas meter here. So I need to, throw some tape around there a little bit, protect that. And one more thing is I need to throw some paper over the fence. And what I'll do is I'll basically like mask up and over the fence with the paper, and then I'll take a tarp and just throw it over on the top of that, and that should do it. Also, if you're spraying near a air conditioning unit, I need to cover that too. So cover that, and then what I'm going to do when I'm in this area and I'm spraying, I will just turn off the AC and throw a tarp over the top of this, make sure it doesn't turn on, make it so it's off, and then just cover it, and that should be good. Another light there. The door, I need to figure that out. I'm probably just gonna do a quick mask job of the stone around it, give it a quick spray. I'm not too concerned about this. This is gonna get removed eventually. I'll get new hardware for the door, so I'm not concerned about getting overspray on the door handles. So I'll just probably get a quick spray on that. It'll be kind of sloppy, but like I said, I'm gonna replace the hardware and everything, so I can deal with that later. Another window, and that's about it. I was working up there. There is a light up there, or there was one, so I took that down. There actually is not power going to it at this point, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might just fill that hole and not have electrical going through there, because I had an electrician out here, and I had power going out to a shed that was out here, and he changed the wiring around. There's no power going out there, and I think it killed the power up to that as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Gonna start on the roof, on the eaves. It's gonna be a little bit hard to film up there, so I might talk about it later, because it's gonna be on the roof. I have to lay down basically and reach under the eave. There's probably about 2 feet of space for me to get under and paint underneath there. It's gonna be a little challenging, especially in the 100-degree heat we have today. So I will check back in a little bit and show my progress. So I finished up around 9:30 last night. I was actually spraying in the dark with very little light, and I think I finished. I don't think I missed too much. I'll give you a quick idea of what I did. So basically sprayed all the ceiling in here, all around down here, basically everything that's wood, and like the metal doors, I went ahead, or the bars, I went ahead and painted that just for the hell of it. But I'll come around here. So the gable ends are painted, and all the whatchamacallit, the eaves, all the eaves are painted all around the house. So that's all done. So you can see it there, all finished up. Came out looking pretty good. Yeah, looks pretty good. Again, finished this gable end here. Doesn't look like I missed anything. Everything looks pretty good. Right over here. Again, all that's done. All the eaves. Those were a pain yesterday, so I did all those. Did that up there as well. Very tight space. Did the pillars here. I'm gonna change those to wood at some point, but I went ahead and painted them just for now so they don't look really bad. Because they would look kind of yellow compared to the white that I'm spraying, or like an off-white. I'm gonna spray the shutters like a charcoal color, dark charcoal, along with the trim. But that's all sprayed out. I went ahead and sprayed out the door too, so everything matches. Again, all the eaves through here. And this is the gable end that I was spraying last night. So it looks like I did miss a spot right there a little bit. You can kind of see it at an angle. It's very slight. So one spot I missed, I can hit that with a brush or a roller. But it looks like I got pretty much everything else. Got a little overspray on the window there. But I'll take it. You know, spraying in the dark, I'll take it. Okay, coming through here. Looks like I missed a spot right there a little bit. So I'll hit that with a roller or a brush there. But looks like that's about it. I still had some light when I was doing this last night, so I should be good over here. Yeah, I'd say looking pretty good. Just a couple spots that I missed, but you know, not bad considering. So what I have left today, today is staining, and so this is going to probably take a little bit longer because what I have to do is I have to back brush it. So what I'm going to do is spray it, spray on the concrete stain, and then I need to go over it with a brush because there's a lot of angles in here, like this way and then bottom up. There's just a lot of different angles and things to get with this kind of stone. And simply spraying it, I think it'll just kind of sit on the surface, whereas if I use a brush and go over it after I spray it, it's going to kind of help work it in a little bit more. I can actually show you an example. So if you come over here, like this part is stained and it looks pretty good from a distance, but when you get kind of close, you can kind of see some spots that didn't get hit. Like there's a spot right there, there's a spot there, a spot there, underneath there. So to hit all that, I'm basically gonna have to go back over it with a brush while I'm spraying it. So try and get all the material on there as best I can. I can even kind of like load it on, spray on more than I need, and then just move it around with the big brush that I have. And I'll show you the brush that I got for this particular job here shortly. But that's what I'm gonna be doing today. I'll go ahead and get started. I'll check back in before I get started, and then I'll probably do a time lapse because I think this is gonna take quite a while. So I'll check back in a bit. For anybody who wants to know, I am using this product to stain the concrete. It's just a solid concrete stain, and you have to make sure you get the right base color. This is like a white base color. I need an 800, and then they can color it to whatever color you want. So I matched it to the Benjamin Moore paint that I've been using up here. So it's basically paint match. You can see right there, that's the stain. So it matches, you know, almost perfectly. And the brush that I was talking about, oops, sorry about that. That's the brush right there. So this is the Deck Boss brush, and it just hooks onto any extension pole. So this is what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to spray material on the surface. I'm going to be going over it with the brush to basically get it in all those crevices in there, so it's covered. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll probably do a time lapse at this point. A long way to go. I'll have to do a little bit of masking along the way as well, along the ground particularly. So we get started. All right, so this whole side is done. I think the time lapse may have cut out there. I think the video stopped. But yeah, this is the all stained. If you look over here, you can see kind of the difference between the two. So there's stained, and there's the original over there. So what I'm doing right now is kind of working in the afternoon sun, well, where the sun is going to be the hottest later. And so this is by far the hottest part of the house in the next, I mean right now it's starting to be pretty hot. I'm completely soaked, but what I'm doing is getting those faces, like the hottest areas done first, so I can move to the other side of the house where it's going to be a lot cooler. And also you don't want to work on hot surfaces because when you paint them, it could dry like immediately. It's called flashing. You're going to be able to see lap marks and just it's not going to look good. So make sure to work on cool surfaces. So that's why I wanted to get these done first, because these are going to be the hottest. Now on the other side of the house, that was warmer in the morning. I'm going to hit that later on this afternoon or the early evening, and that's going to have a chance to kind of cool off. It's not going to be in direct sunlight for a while. So I'm going to do that last. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do this wall, and then I'll probably do this whole section in here so I'll get a little break in the shade. And then I can move to the other side of the house and continue making my way around. So yeah, it's hot. So I'm going to continue doing this. I'll probably do a time lapse again. And yeah, let me get going. So all the body is now done. You can tell it's a little bit brighter than it was. Got some nice contrast between the window color and the body color. So now I do have a little bit of touch up to do around the house. There are some spots that I missed. I can just go back over it with a brush and hit that. But I'm gonna go ahead and start moving on to trim now because I'm curious what it's gonna look like. I got like a dark, kind of a charcoal, kind of a gray. And so I'm gonna start trimming it out because I'm curious to see what it's gonna look like. And so I'm gonna get started and I'll do a time lapse so you can see how it goes.